What does it take to be a successful speaker? I'm Lynda Katz Wilner, founder and director of Successfully Speaking, and I'm here today with Dr. Mike Thomson. Dr. Mike, as he's called, has been described as the master of entertainment, comedy, fun, and learning. And he presents edutainment programs, which is educational as well as entertainment. And he's done this worldwide over the years. He also has some trademarked programs, the strategies for saving your sanity, and another one, it's all about character. So I welcome Dr. Mike Thomson. It's great to have you here.
Lynda. Thanks. I can't wait. I'm excited. So fire away all your questions.
Okay, I have lots of questions for you.
Good.
Let's start, Dr. Mike, with tell us a little bit about how you got to where you are today, speaking all around the world. How did it start?
So it's amazing. Actually, I want to go back home to Superior, Wisconsin. I'm a cheesehead from Wisconsin. And I go back home and people go, you're a speaker? And to 2.5 million people? That's a lot of people in that. But I started out, my whole career kind of started back in high school. I got a D in speech, Lynda, a D in speech in high school. My speech teacher, Mrs. Monahan, would roll over in her grave right now if she said, he did what? He's talking to 2.5 million people and written 20 books. He was horrible in high school. He couldn't get it. Well, the reason is because everything was just so you had to speak like this. And then I found out that you can just go up and speak, but you speak from the heart. And so then all of a sudden, what I ended up doing is I was 18 years old. I graduated from high school and I was 18 in August after graduation, started college. And when I get into college, and by the way, I had a high school guidance counselor who said, you're never going to make it in college. Don't waste your parents' money. Your test scores are so horrible. You'll never go work on the ore boats on Lake Superior or go work on the railroad. And I went, nope. I grew up in a hockey family and my dad was a semi-pro hockey player and we called him a Peter Pucker. And my brother and I were Peter Puckers all the way into college. And I was a high school hockey coach too. And I always taught people, don't give up, keep going. If you want something, go for it. Well, I was 18 and I started college. And when I started college, I happened to sit in my very first class, and it was a Friday night, all day Saturday workshop, and it was on alcoholism. And I noticed the guy up there and I thought, that's my neighbor. And he was a neighbor of mine who was a sportscaster in Duluth, Minnesota, Superior, Wisconsin, and he happened to be alcoholic. I listened intently for the next day and a half at this workshop. I went up to him and I said, Dennis, number one, I didn't know about the alcoholism. Number two, I can't believe how much I learned, and this needs to be in high school. Why did I not hear this until I'm first year in college? And he said, and I said, I got an idea. Will you help me? If I put this together and do it with the high school that I went to, will you help me out? And he says, on one condition, you work for me. You work at the treatment center that I'm now directing. You work in the inpatient unit, detox, and upstairs in the psychiatric unit. If you do that, I'll help you. I said, deal. So what I ended up doing for the next 3 years in college is I ended up putting together a program for high school I went to, and actually down in the junior high, on really learning what alcoholism is all about, because I saw a lot of people go in the wrong direction. And I ended up getting awards in the Department of Psychology at University of Wisconsin Superior and graduated early in college. And all of a sudden, from that point forward, people were like, hey, can you speak to this group of parents? Yep, I can do that. Now, I never spoken to parents, but I go, yep, I can do that. Can you speak to these teachers? Yep, I can do that. And I just got up and figured out, how am I going to do it? What do they want to hear? So that's how I started.
And that's from the D in public speaking in high school.
The D in speech class. Again, that was regimental, Roman numeral one, subset, whatever. And you had to, and then I started hanging my hat around people, even like Robin Williams and people like, and I followed Tony Robbins and I followed so many people. And I thought, they're having fun up there. Well, that's me. I'm crazy, goofy. I'm that goofy guy that was always in high school. And now I can do it up on stage, and people were laughing. But people said, you gave me so much meat on the bones, so to speak, and you gave me information. That's what I do. And that's where I started to understand too, is that, you know, and I always tell people, your brain is your best friend and your worst enemy. It's your best friend if you're fed the right diet, and a diet that helps you train your brain for unlimited success and go this way. It's your worst enemy if somebody who hang around with, could be your parents, could be brother, sister, could be friends, could be coaches, teachers, whoever, bosses. If you hang around with people that feed you a negative diet, your life will go that way. And I thought, I've got to learn how to feed this brain. And what is it? What are those tips, those broken down tips to feed your brain to be successful in life? I had to learn them too. It's not like I just went, whoa, man, I'm good at it. No. I had to do a lot of self-inventory and a lot of introspection of, hey, who's Mike Thomson? Where am I really going here? So that's what happened.
And I bet even the coaching or the sports and the coaching helped you just learn a lot about people, because teachers and coaches could have tremendous impacts on people in positive ways, but also in very negative ways.
Well, in negative ways, even my guidance counselor, I mean, God rest the guy's soul, but I mean, the guy at the time was basically giving me information that instead of saying, you know, Mike, you're going to have a tough time maybe, and because you didn't do well on these ACT scores and all this kind of stuff and all that. Well, I don't do well on tests. I really don't. He could have phrased it differently and put it into a positive spin and said, listen, it's going to, and it did. My bachelor's degree, my master's degree, and even my doctorate at the Ohio, it's not Ohio State, it's the, down on one knee, genuflect for the Ohio State University. I clawed my way through academics. Why? Because it's set up differently for the way people think. Well, I don't think that way. I want something, I'm going to go get it. But I also, as a speaker, understand that I'm a servant leader. And once you learn that key, I think you understand it's not about me. It's not about me. Even though I go to the conferences and I go, and here's Dr. Mike, and I take it for either an hour or I take it for a half day or full day, it's not about me. I'm serving everybody in that audience. So I'm getting into their mind, into their life, and saying, what can I do to help you become a better version of yourself so that when you show up tomorrow, you're better than you were yesterday? And that's the way I live my life. And so I'm constantly looking for new tips, new secrets, new strategies. So I got to be that guy that's filled with that. So I got to learn from everybody, including you, Lynda.
Well, there's a lot we can learn from each other. And we've talked about this, that the desire to keep learning, especially for professional speakers, works to help our audience get current information and make us relevant. So we can't sit back and give the same speech even in 2019 that we're going to give in 2021, because everything's changed.
Well, and that's the beauty of life, but that's the, who knew that we were going to have something like COVID, and nobody knew what COVID-19 was, or, the word pandemic came up again and all that. But it's like, if you don't make that pivot in the pandemic, and you don't make that kind of pivot in your business or in your personal life, because it changed everybody's life in so many different ways. Parents whose kids went to school, now they're becoming homeschooled. Their living room is turning into a garage, and whatever is turning into now a classroom. So what does that tell me? That tells me the same thing you should tell everybody who's even in the speaking industry, is that learn from other people. I hope I'm never going to stop learning. The day that I'm dying, I hope I'm still able to communicate and say, can you teach me what's going on right now? Why are you hooking me up to this and that and the other thing? And where am I at in the process here? So every day I'm going, what can I learn from Lynda? What can I learn from this person? What do I learn from my son and daughter? My kids, my first book, I wrote a book called, my very first book was called Who's Raising Whom? That's me on the cover with enough mousse in my hair to withstand a hurricane. But it was like, who's raising whom? When I started to figure out, wow, my kids are filled with so much information. And if I go, no, I'm your father, I'm your father and I know better, versus saying, hey, let's have a discussion. Let's have a dialogue here. That's not only a good parent, that's a good speaker, that's a good manager, that's a good business owner, that's a good person who's saying, it's not about me. It's not about me. I'm not the show. I'm part of the show. Make sense?
And, I talk about the OLE approach of communication, and it's you observe and you listen in order to engage. And that's what you're doing with your children. That's what you do with your coworkers. That's what you do with your boss. That's what you do with anybody. That's what we're doing with each other, right? We can't just talk, because we'll walk away. And Larry King had said this, I'm not learning anything new if I'm the one talking. So we really have to listen.
You hit the nail on the head, Lynda, because what you just said there, everybody needs to rewind this and listen to that, because what I had to learn in my life, and it's really tough because I have a BS degree, everybody know what that stands for, MS, more of it, and PhD, piled higher and deeper is what I tell people. The toughest thing I ever do, because I'm so extroverted and I talk, put a boot in your mouth and shut up, listen. Not I'd give you 2 ears and 1 mouth. Put a boot in your mouth and listen. When you listen, that's when you're serving other people. So when I said servant leadership, if you're a speaker, it's not about you. It's about the audience. And it's about what you can do to help them and find out where are they at in their life right now? What problems do they have? Where do they want to go in their life? And my job is I tell people, I'm going to teach you how to walk across water. They're like, oh, shut up, Dr. Mike. I go, no. I'll teach you how to walk across water. You know how? When I teach you where the stones are, and I teach you what those stones are, you can walk across water because I'll guide you. Because everybody's got, they've got problems over here and they're going, I want to be over there. I want to be on that side of the river. Great. I had to figure out what do I need to do to teach them to get to that side of the river. So in a sense, Lynda, I'm Obi-Wan Kenobi, so to speak. I'm a guide. That's what Obi-Wan Kenobi was in Star Wars to Luke Skywalker. I'm going to help you become the hero. You'll be able to attack all the villains in that river, that raging river of all the problems in your life. But I'm going to teach you how to do that, because right now your stumbling blocks are how to deal with all that raging river. You want to get over there, I know how to get you over there.
And Dr. Mike, you brought something up, which is something very relevant now to professional speakers. And that's the idea of the storytelling, because they talk about Star Wars and you need to make the audience the hero of the story and tell stories because stories stick more. Can you talk a little bit more about that?
Yeah.
Like how you use storytelling?
Well, it's a great question. And I come from a story. People will say, boy, Dr. Mike tells the greatest stories. Well, it's stories that I know you'll understand. But the other thing is, you'll never see me behind a podium. You'll see the person that introduces me at the podium. And I may stand on the podium or lean against it once in a while, but I'm out in the audience. I love to be walking around. Why? Because I want you to be a part of the story. I want you, because and I always tell people, I said, what I love about my profession, I've spoken to 2.5 million people, and I hope to speak to another 2.5 million. But here's what I love. I look out in the audience and I know that everybody in that room has a story. Everybody has something going on with their boyfriend, their girlfriend, their husband, their wife, their mom, their dad. They've got death, separation, bill problems, bankruptcy, you name it. Everybody's got a story, but they've got a story of either they've overcome obstacles or they're butting up against those obstacles. And they're saying, I need help. I got to get over there, get to that side of the river, but I don't know how to get over there. That's where I come in. That's what I could, but that's where we come in too. That's what I love about, it's not just about Dr. Mike. I'm just a guide. I'm going to help you with these tips, these secrets, and these strategies. And you'll never, ever, the other thing, Lynda, you'll never see me with a PowerPoint. At one time I did that because people, well, you need to go with a PowerPoint. I thought, okay, I'll go with the PowerPoint. But a PowerPoint, sometimes people are going, I can't read it. It's got 50 different things. And then it has the person who did the article, I guess, the research. And I start to zone out. And I always think to myself, if that's all your presentation was, why didn't you just send it to me and tell me that I could call you if I had any questions? I'd rather read it in my motel room.
And you know what, the presentation, of course, and I'm speaking to the choir, is you. It's not supposed to be the PowerPoint. The PowerPoint may be there to supplement you, but you want people to look and engage with you, not the slides.
Well, and I think that's another key point that you're bringing up is that what I've learned in my career is that, yes, I can go out and talk, and I can talk for a long time. In fact, my wife and my kids will go, Dad, shut up, man, put a boot in it, because it's like, yeah, I can do that. And I love to edutain people, education, entertainment, and all that. And I love doing that. But the thing is that break everything down into small mind bites. And basically, if you watch any television show now, I don't care if it's a news show, ABC, NBC, MSNBC, Fox News, it's all broken down into little segments. Well, that's because people only can take so much. So find out what you're talking about and then break it into a little segment. And then while you do that, break it up with a visual. Like I always say, okay, everybody do this. Take your right hand, put out here, nice and loud, repeat it to me, say, good choice. Yep. Now over here, take your hand over here and say, poor choice. Yep. And now put your thummies inside and say, my choice. So good choice, poor choice, my choice. Well, I see people stop me in the airports and they're like, Dr. Mike. And then they'll see me do this up on stage. And they'll say, "What? Oh, this is choice detectors." And then they'll go, good choice, bad choice, my choice. And I go, whoa, wait, I love it that you stopped me. But guess what? I got to correct you on one thing. It's good choice, poor choice. I got rid of bad years ago. Why? Because guess what, Lynda, you and I and everybody watching this, we've all said something or done something and went, what a dumb, stupid thing to say or do. That's why we have flat foreheads. So what I tell people is, good choice, poor choice. But you see what I did now? What I did for you right now is I gave you a little bit of information, got a visual in there, and then I stopped. Sometimes I stop and get the audience to say, okay, I want you to pair up and just ask each other, what's a key point you just learned from Dr. Mike? They come back and I go, okay, now let's move on. And then you pivot. No different than a television show, how they pivot from segment to segment, okay?
And that's a great point, because with speaking, first of all, people do not have very long attention spans anymore. And with speaking, you need content. You may need some visual or acting it out so they can see it because it sticks more. But sometimes you need those breakout activities to just change the pace and give them a break so that they can learn more when you give them that next segment. So that's great that you divide it up that way.
In what I talk about, even in, and we do this on mastermind groups that I'm involved in, where whether it's on an internet Zoom call or a mastermind call, you want to get the information. I want to give me some things to talk about or let some questions or whatever, but then you get people interacting. And the minute you get people interacting, great. And it's just like up on stage. The thing I don't like sometimes about a keynote is they just want you to talk at the audience for 45, 50 minutes. Well, yeah, you can do that, but you better make it interactive. You better I've had the good fortune of being around Robin Williams, and boy, he taught me a ton about comedy, and Carrot Top taught me a ton about props, use of props. So I sat back and thought, I'm going to use props here. I'm going to use the comedy here. I'm going to use, but you see what I've done? I broke it up into segments. Because I've seen so many people, including myself, who go to a talk and it's dull, dry, boring, and they're sleeping, and they got 90 gallons of drool here, and they're like, when's this over? Where people in my talks, they say, where do you get all this energy, Dr. Mike? You're like the Energizer Bunny. Well, I love what I do, but I want you to love what you do in your life and where you can go in your life. That's the whole thing. I got to help you train your brain. So if I'm up there and I'm just showing you some PowerPoints and my eyes are looking down and I'm kind of talking like this and I'm saying, is everybody with me right now?
We've heard those, haven't we?
Yeah. Boy.
So, Dr. Mike, let me ask you this. Because I know your energy level is phenomenal, but tell me, as you have each different event, when you're going to speak, is there anything you do to prepare for that event, to respond to that particular audience?
Yeah, great question. Yes, what I do in preparation is I do my homework, and my homework is, remember what I said, it's all about them. It's not about Dr. Mike. I know what my spiel is going to be, or my shtick, so to speak, as they say in the business. I know what I'm going to talk about. But if I'm all about you, and I'm helping you or your organization, association, company, whoever I'm talking to, I want to find out what are the problems that you're going through? What are the major issues that are frustrating the bejeebers out of this audience? I dealt with health information management people. These are people who do coding, and they're the people in the back office when the COVID has come by and they're coding and all that stuff. Well, I got to find out what's the things that frustrates the bejeebers out of them, or these teacher group, or these sports coaches, or these parents. Okay, what are those things? So I do my homework and prep for that. I know I'm gonna talk about my 6 critical questions guaranteed to save your sanity, because everybody's going to get this handout in the audience. And I know that I'm going to teach them about the 8 areas of what I call the power of productive choices. And I usually only get through about half of those, but I know that's in my head. But if I do my homework, I know about that organization, and I know what frustrates those people. Because if it's on strategies for saving your sanity in parenthood, I better know what those parents are frustrated with. Or in the classroom, I better know what those teachers, or in sports or coaching, I better know what those coaches, what frustrates the bejeebers out of them. Because the minute I know that, those people, I start throwing out a couple of questions. How many in this room would be interested in learning a strategy to save your sanity? Hands go up. Second question, how many have already lost your sanity? Hands and feet go up. And then I immediately get into their world and give some examples. You got people doing this in the audience going, has he been in the back room? Has he been in the break room? He knows exactly how we feel about the boss or management or administration or the business owners or whatever. So do that homework. That's critical.
And so with that preparation, it's very obvious that no 2 presentations are the same. They may have the same content, but it's framed differently for each audience.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's got to be framed. I have so much energy. I can't wait to get up on stage. That feeds me. That feeds my brain. But that feeds me as a speaker in that. But I can't wait to get up there, because I'm going to learn something new about this audience. And I'm going to also, if I have more time, I'm going to break them into small groups and say, what are some of the things that are just driving you nuts, and they come out with this. Well, that's different than the audience I spoke to yesterday. That's completely different. But they love that, because if you're attentive to their needs, that's what they want. If you're just up there doing an infomercial about yourself or your new, I have my latest book and I want everybody to go to my web. They didn't come there for that. They didn't come there for that. And remember, people are into Twitter, Snapchat, Instagram. They're into quick kinds of things, Facebook, and they're leaving quick. That's what they want. They want quick little video bites, sound bites, something that's going to get them stirred, get them talking, get them interacting, get them thinking differently. And that's the whole thing. So everything I do is broken up intentionally into small mind bites, something they can chew on, digest, then we'll pivot.
But it's not a memorized talk that people feel, oh my goodness, he said this 20 times to 20 different groups. And that's when people lose that connection with the speaker. Like you said, when they're showing their book, they're saying the thing that they said every time, and they're not adapting to that audience, they lose all their authenticity.
It's the old field of dreams. You build it, they will come. If you build a good relationship, and that's the critical thing, it's a relationship with those audience members, they'll come to your website. They'll seek you out. They'll go to your YouTube channel. They'll go to drmikethomson.com, or they'll go to my YouTube channel. They'll find me someplace and reach out and say, do you have a book? Right. I've got about 20 of them. Or do you do coaching? Yeah, I do that. I've been doing it for, but they'll reach out to you versus me going, it's like the old, want to buy a watch? Want to buy a watch?
You can't push it. You can't push it on them.
No.
I have a question. I'm a speech language pathologist, so I'm very concerned about how people take care of their voice. Yep. And our voice is the instrument that has to be fine-tuned. And if something goes wrong with it, we can't work, or we can't deliver the way we want to. Is there anything you do, Dr. Mike, to think about or take care of your voice since you're speaking so much?
Great question. And you know what? I should hire somebody like you full time, because every speaker, quite frankly, needs a Lynda. They need a Lynda in their life, and Lynda who can teach them how to train their voice. Unfortunately, I'm one of those. I'm Norwegian, Swede, from Wisconsin, cheesehead, So I do it the wrong way first. I get up there and I just let it rip. And if I'm doing an all-day seminar, boy, at the end of the day, I am just shot. Okay. And then I have to do a talk tomorrow, let's say. It could be even a keynote, but boy, my voice is shot. It's because I haven't taken care of my voice, as you well know. And at first, you drink all the wrong things. I was doing a thing for the Dairy Association. Of course, they give me a bunch of milk beforehand. Well, milk's not the greatest thing in the world up there because it sticks on the top.
Right.
You're constantly clearing your voice and that. And then water, and stuff like that. So yeah, I'll take some water. I don't drink enough water. I need to drink more water. I need to have either tea with lemon in it or honey in it, as they talk about that. But again, I'm learning that stuff. So when I hear somebody like you, who's a coach, who actually coaches speakers on how to save their voice, because Lloyd's of London should be, I should be actually getting my voice insured, because if I lose my voice, if for whatever reason I lose my voice today, I'm done. I'm toast. I mean, I'm toast to a degree. If I'm type or something, but my voice is that's what people hire me for. Mm-hmm. They want Dr. Mike's voice.
Right. You can't go up there and just pantomime. They won't get the same message. Right? Yeah. And just as a quick tip, because hydrating or water is so important. And what amazes me is that at most convention halls or conferences, they put ice water on the table. And that's maybe for the audience, but the speaker should be having room temperature water. And not everybody realizes that. Something as simple as that, but you don't want your muscles to tighten up. You just want to hydrate. And so that's my little tip.
But Lynda, even that little tip is worth gold to me, and should be to everybody watching this, is that as a speaker, they do put that ice water bucket or pitcher. Well, it's a bucket sometimes too, but they put that up on the podium or near there, and I'll pour myself a glass of water and it's got ice in it. It's really not it's the worst thing to do. Mm-hmm. I'm better off having exactly what you say, which is room temperature, kind of stuff. Take a bottle of water up there, but you've had it in your backpack for, on the trip over or whatever. It's room temperature.
I don't even mind the warm water, but the ice water is not the best thing.
No, it's not. No, I agree.
Let me ask you this. Many speakers have hidden talents. Some of them juggle, some play the guitar, some sing, some dance. I'm feeling very intimidated by the fact that I don't know that I have any major talents to get up and wow the audience with, other than my ear and ability to listen to people and give them feedback. Do you have any hidden talents, Dr. Mike?
Well, you touched on singing. That would be one hidden talent, and it should stay hidden, because if I went out and sang, I could empty the auditorium real quick. You don't want to be around me when you're singing, when I'm singing. But juggling, yeah, I do actually have learned how to do a little bit of juggling up on stage. I also have learned magic, because I love magic. I just think it's awesome. So I went to a magic store and said, listen, this is what I do as a speaker, and I have a specific section. What do you recommend? Guy showed me a magic book, and it was like, wow. And then all of a sudden I flick it, and it's I wish I had it right now. I show you what it does, but it ties in perfectly. So I do magic. I can juggle a checkbook, because I've been known to do that in years past. But no, I don't. I love these. I ran into a speaker not too long ago, a guy from California, young guy, and he's awesome on the guitar. And I told him, I said, you've got to take that guitar. And then when you speak, it's like, I'd love to be able to hit a couple really good notes, and then all of a sudden say, these words remind me exactly of boom, boom, boom. 3 key points I want you to remember in your life that'll really get you motivated and point your boots forward in life, and then go back to playing that or play the piano. I love it when I see that. So I'm a little bit... I always tell people you can learn anything at any age, but I don't know that I'm going to be picking up guitar or piano or tap dancing. I like the cloggers on the commercial.
I'm not sure I'm going to do that either at this point.
I could empty another auditorium.
I know we're running short on time now, and I want to get as many questions as I can, because you're giving these wonderful answers. One thing real quickly, and I'm guessing the answer already. Do you get nervous before a presentation?
Do I get nervous? I have in the past. I've been nervous, and I'll only be nervous if it's what I'm actually teaching this in my talk is if you're ever controlling to be in control, you're out of control. And what that means is that if you're controlling for the audience to like this, laugh at this joke, or like this thing because the other audiences did, then what you're missing is God gives you a great gift, and it's called life. And the second gift he gives you is 1,440 minutes of that day, and every day. Nobody gets more, nobody gets less. And if you get nervous, it's because you're worried about the 997th minute or the 12th minute of the day versus just saying, you know what, I'm going to take it moment by moment. Mm-hmm. I'm going to go out there. I'm going to give. That nervousness comes from a give to get. Because if you were raised as to, if I give you a gift during Hanukkah, or I give you a gift during Christmas, or I give you a birthday present and you don't acknowledge it, or you don't send me a thank you card, I get upset. Mm-hmm. Excuse me. That's not your problem, Lynda. That's my problem. Mm-hmm. That's the same with speaking, is that if I'm worried about over here, then I'm not in the present. I'm not focused on just being with you and being with the audience at that moment.
Yeah. Great advice. Great advice. Because, and again, nervousness, and you said it before, if you reframe it to also being excited, it has a whole different feel about it. And so you're not worried about what they're going to think. You're just excited to share what you know. Yes. And give to them. So you certainly made that very clear. My final question for you is, what advice, Dr. Mike, do you have for somebody who's just starting out and wants to be a professional speaker?
Boy, I wish I would have had that question, thrown at me at a younger age, except it was in a sense because I knew I wanted to speak, because I was being asked whether I was working in a drug alcohol treatment center or working in a school or even at the what I call the WFMC, the world famous Mayo Clinic. I worked in the Department of Psychiatry and Psychology, and I always wanted to go out there and speak to new audiences. And if I was a new speaker, I would always start with the end in mind and think to yourself, who out there right now who's out there that has what I want? Who's a good speaker? Somebody. And so at the time when I was growing up, it was Tony Robbins. And Tony Robbins was doing the infomercials. And Tony Robbins was writing books. And I was like, man, I want to be like that guy. Well, then I'm up on stage and I always tell people, write this down. Who you hang around with, you become. If you want to become successful, look at successful people, hang around them, and put a boot in your mouth, watch them, listen to them, and write down all the things that they do, the mannerisms they have, the way they raise their voice in inflection, the way they get into a story, and the way they get into your emotions. And when you watch that and you pick up those kinds of things, because a good speaker is like a good hypnotist. They hypnotize the audience. Yeah. Well, how do they do that? They bring the audience into their story. They bring the audience and they work with the heart, and versus the mind, they work with that heart and the feelings first, and then they connect it with the mind. I'm telling you this, Lynda, because I learned this from watching people. So my advice to those newbie speakers is go out and find the people in your niche. If you're in financial, whatever, Dave Ramsey. If you're in leadership, John Maxwell. If you're in personal development, Tony Robbins. If you're, you know what I'm saying? You find those people, and then you're going to find the good, the bad, the ugly. You might find some things about them that you go, that's not me. Well, that's okay. That's not you. I don't want you to be a Tony Robbins 2.0. I don't want that. I don't want you to be a John Maxwell or Dave Ramsey or a Dr. Mike. I want you to make this yours and find out what is it that story inside of you that you can tell. Tony did it, John did it, Dave did it, Dr. Mike did it. What's that story inside of you? Too many people came into the speaking business going, I got laid off from this company, from this whatever, and you know what? I'm going to become a speaker. Well, that's great. That's fine. I'm glad that whatever came about, whatever light that shone down on you, you said, I'm going to become a professional speaker. Well, it's not that easy. Mm-hmm. you've got to get into this. You got to start taking care of who you hang around with. Hang around with Lynda, because Lynda will help you out right away with your voice, because your voice is your most, that's your financial backdrop. If you don't have your voice, you're going to lose everything. Mm-hmm. Get around people who can really help you. You know, I ran into Donald Miller not too long ago with Business Made Simple and Story Brand. Phenomenal guy. Mm-hmm. You know what I did? I went, where has this guy been? I wish he would have been in my life 30 years ago. Well, guess what? He wasn't, but now he is. He's changed everything now for me. So that's why I tell people, don't ever stop learning, and don't ever get stuck on titles. Yeah, you're a doctor. Big deal. Big deal. People do not hire me because I'm a doctor. They don't hire me because I talk to 2.5 million people. They don't hire me because I've written 20 some books. They don't do that. They hire me because I can solve the problems that they have in their life right now. They want to get from here to that side of the river, but they've got all these obstacles in that raging river. And I've got to help them put the stones in the river so they can walk across the river. And then they go, aha. That's why I create the aha moment.
And a good speaker also connects with their audience. And that, to me, no matter what you're talking about, if you connect and they get that message, that's what's so important.
That's the key, Lynda. You got to connect. It's all relationships. Yeah.
Right. So, perfect. Dr. Mike, this has been great. Wonderful information. We can keep going on, but we have to limit how much time we have here. I think you already mentioned about your website, but what is the best way for people to get in touch with you if they have questions?
The best way, you can go to drmikethomson.com, and it's weird. It's DR, so it's DRMIKE, and then Thomson is weird because it's THOMSON. A lot of people want to put a P in there, and I always tell people, nobody pees on my name, and they all laugh and giggle, but they never forget it, you know? So drmikethomson.com, they can just Google Dr. Mike or Dr. Mike Thomson, and they'll find me everywhere on the internet. You can go to YouTube. I have a Dr. Mike Thomson YouTube channel and all that, and they can get a hold of me that way. That's how everybody does it via their phone nowadays anyways, and so they'll find me.
I'm sure they will, and they'll be very fortunate to learn more from you as you learn.
Well, I've learned a lot from you. That's what I love about your interview series is you not only share with people about your great gifts and what you do to help people, but you allow people to share their gifts and how they're helping people. And that's the business we're in, Lynda, is we're just trying to help people go from here to over here. And if we can help them in one little small increments, we're having a good day. I'm having a good day if I can help people.
And we can learn from each other. And and like you said, we keep learning. So Dr. Mike, thank you so much. It's been a pleasure getting to know you better and learn more about this. And I know we'll be having more conversations moving forward. So thanks for joining us on the interview series.
Hey, thanks a lot. You take care.